Hey everyone, Izumono-Kuni22 here with a Final Fantasy related video. Previously you just saw my character Yagami. Final Fantasy XIV is currently my favorite game and it is what I play the most, so hopefully I will create more Final Fantasy XIV related content for the channel. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and click that bell for notifications on when I post more content and for more content. Today's topic seems to be the talk of the town, you could say, in the Final Fantasy XIV community. Job tier lists seem to be all the rage as Stormblood's era draws to an end and the era of Shadowbringers is on the horizon. This is my job tier list. Please be mindful that this is my opinion and not the go-to on any official job ranking. This is just how I view or play the classes and how I would personally rank them. From my experience. You might feel a little differently or a lot differently, and that's okay. But if you're interested in my perspective, well, keep watching and you'll find out. This is a tier maker site. Credit to the templates maker. I am not the template maker. The link will be in the description below. Now before we proceed any further, let's establish what the tier values are. S, well, I suppose will be the top tier, and D would be the lowest tier. S, I suppose, would be any class that is beyond exceptionally well in its function and or simply my favorite classes. A would be an excellently balanced class, one that I really enjoy overall, so that would be A. I would assume that B is one class or a class that I still like, but I have some qualms with it. C is not fun to play or has more complaints than not for me. And D is any class that I have no fun with at all, or I just overall dislike it. Also, it may just have, or I might just have trouble, getting into it, so those will be my rough guidelines for how I rank each class in a tier. Going in the order presented here, we start with Blue Mage. I am ranking Blue Mage as a B tier class. I like Blue Mage. I think the animations are cool and its concept as a solo class is admirable. However, I feel it fails in implementation as a solo class because it needs help from level 70s to obtain its spells and skills. When I've tried to solo some dungeons for spells, I was flat out murdered. And that is ridiculous for a solo slash overpowered, as the devs put it, class. Square's excuses on the matter actually kind of upset me a little bit. I think it's fun to play around with it, with the class, and I hope it would one day be balanced into regular gameplay. Perhaps we could have Blue Mage oriented quests around the map or something like that. But as of now, Blue Mage kind of falls short of what I think everyone expected and wanted when they requested it. So it's a B tier for me. Next up is Dancer. Dancer, as a class, is not yet playable, so I can only rank it on pure speculation and in anticipation level for what I do know about it. And as of now, I rank Dancer in A class, so it'll be in the A tier. The footage you will see is of Yagami dancing, since Dancer is not yet playable. And I don't have the video footage from the trailer to present in my video, so we're just gonna go with this. I'm personally excited for Dancer. I'm very curious as to how the dances, which are said to be unisex, are going to present on both genders, male and female. I personally would like to see the boundaries being pushed in the dances. Yeah, I think the teased outfits for the class are great. I'm not bothered at all with the fact that Dancer is not a healer. I'm totally fine with it being a ranged melee DPS, which is something, I guess, coming from a healer main such as myself. I like that it's a ranged DPS. I also like that there should be, as Square said, great diversity in the type of throwing arms that it will use. It's not going to use just one type of throwing arm like a chakram, for example. It's going to use multiple throwing arm items. I think that's a great idea implemented. I hope that that idea could translate over to the other classes, that we have a greater diversity in what the classes are allowed to use as weapons that fits within their core category. That would be great. I think, for example, a white mage, which primarily uses some form of cane or staff, would get some variation on its core weapon. The same with every class. I think that would be a wonderful new take on our weapons. So I hope Dancer revolutionizes that sort of thing for us. That would be great. I also like the promise that Dancer is going to bring a lot of party utility similar to Bard. That's great. We need that. Unfortunately, I feel as if Machinist might get pushed to the wayside because of that, but we'll see. So for now, Dancer is an A tier class in my book. I'm looking forward to it. Gunbreaker, like Dancer, is not yet playable, and it will be ranked on a similar basis. For me, Gunbreaker is a B tier class. I'm not really all that excited about it. I'm not really a tank fan, so I'm a tad biased. Its class teaser trailer kind of left me feeling rather indifferent. I was just wondering, kind of why this class, and also who asked for this. But I suppose there are many of you who are excited for it and might have actually, begged Square for this class. So that's a good thing for them, or you, if that's you. And then I don't really care thing for me, as regards to Gunbreaker. I'll level it, and then I'll see how I feel after leveling it to 70 or 80, since that'll be the new cap. Maybe my thoughts will change. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. Red Mage is next. Red Mage gets an S tier ranking from me. It is now one of my favorite classes, and I play Red Mage a lot. When it first came out, I was a little miffed about it due to it kind of taking the best of both worlds from the Black and White Mage, realms. And it kind of makes me wish that Black Mages were allowed to res. I have since grown really fond of Red Mage and what it does for a party. It has lots of utility, great attack speed, and single target damage. I do have some issues with it, those being its ability to res way better than any healer can, which I think is just plain wrong. Healers should be, in my opinion, top in raising people. However, with Red Mage's dual cast ability, it trumps any other healer in the game, and I kind of feel that shouldn't be the case. Or, you know, maybe give healers a dual cast res, you know, I don't know. I also feel that its attack speed can be a bit overpowering at times. They are very easily aggro thieves, and when they first came out, it was a huge problem with them stealing aggro from tanks. Their aggro thieving issues have been somewhat sorted. But that aside, Red Mage is an S tier class in my book. Up next, Black Mage. One of my favorite classes in the game, Black Mage gets an A tier ranking from me. It's fun to play, and it's well balanced. The glass tank, as it's commonly referred to, does great damage, and it looks very cool. I do wish its casting times weren't as long, and that it was more mobile. The mobility issues for Black Mage are what kept me from giving it an S tier ranking. As boss mechanics grow ever crazier, hectic, and fast-paced, it can be a bit crippling to be forced to stand still as long as Black Mage must in order to cast some spells, or most spells for that matter. I'm often having to cancel out spells and casting in order to dodge an AoE, and thus, when I'm dodging, I'm not doing damage because I'm moving, and I can't cast and move at the same time as a Black Mage, for the most part. So, yeah, other casters, like Red Mage for example, don't have that issue as much. So, it would be nice if Black Mage could cast and move more efficiently than it currently does. But Black Mage gets an A tier rank in my book. Next up, Machinist. Machinist is a C tier class for me. I'm not the hugest fan of Machinist. Its ammo mechanics are a bit clunky in my opinion, and when I play the class, I feel like I'd rather be a bard. That's what goes through my head. It doesn't have a degree, or the degree of utility that bard has, and I feel that it'll only be left behind with the introduction of Dancer. Now, as of earlier today, the job trailer for Shadowbringers did come out, and along with the benchmark, and it showed some very interesting changes for Machinist. But as of Stormblood, in the Stormblood iteration of Machinist, it's a bit different, so I can only rate this as it is now. Its droids are also a bit of a chore to place in the right spot, and other players often fail to position mobs in the right spot to better utilize the droids, so you spend more time positioning droids, and it's not fun. It's just kind of obnoxious. I feel like it does have a decent damage potential, so that's a plus, and I warmed up to it a little bit when I was leveling it, but I'd still rather be a bard. Machinist looks very cool. Its attacks are very interesting. I do like the use of the revolver. No, it's not a revolver, but a rifle. The guns, it's pretty cool. I kind of would like to see some trigger happy mechanics like Gunner had in Final Fantasy X-2. I think that would have been fun, or would be a fun addition. But Machinist apparently has a lot of changes coming up in Shadowbringers, so from what I saw in the trailer, I think that's it's awesome. It looks really great, and I like the direction that it's going to go in. So I hope I'm not disappointed, and I hope that all the Machinist fans get the updates that they so deserve. The next class to be ranked is Summoner. Summoner is a C tier class for me. While I like its spell animations and concept, I wish its summon pets were cooler looking. I also wish that the pets or eggies for each Realm Reborn Primal were present, but we only got, Garuda, Titan, and Ifrit. When I first thought Summoner, I had in mind Final Fantasy X Yuna type summoning, but that is far from the reality we got. The reality of it was a bit disappointing, in my opinion. I find Summoner tricky to play, or to play well, and I'm personally no good at it. It just seems very mechanical and non-organic in its gameplay style, and I usually choose the other casters over Summoner. So, Summoner is a C tier. That being said, as a quick side note, as for the future of Summoner, it looks brighter for me, in my opinion. After seeing the benchmark and job trailers today, it seems as if they're going to update Summoner in some very interesting ways, and I think it's going to be a little simpler to play, and that's a welcome change in my book. I don't know, let me know how you feel about it, but I think I'll like Summoner a lot more in the future. But Stormblood Summoner is a little meh for me. Monk is up next. Monk is a B tier class on my list. It's a great class, and I have a lot of fun with it. I am just not a fan of positionals. Also, my preference is to be a long-ranged type player rather than a up-close and personal type. So it isn't a class I play a lot. Monk, if played correctly, as in properly positioned and geared, can really do great damage, and I think that's really awesome. So, yeah. I don't really know what changes it's gonna get in Shadowbringers. They mentioned some things, I believe, in the live letter, but I didn't pay too close attention to that, so sorry. But yeah, Stormblood Monk, it's fun. It's a fun class. Very powerful, some party utility in there, but me and positionals are not best friends, so it can't be ranked higher for me. Next up, Bard. is an A tier class in my list. It is one of my favorite classes and currently my favorite ranged melee DPS class. I really enjoy it. It looks great. Its animations are flashy and really cool. It is a class that promotes you to glamour in a very outlandish style. I really enjoy that. Glamour is everything to me. I love that Bard brings lots of party utility, and I love the concept of song being used in battle, and I like that the ballads actually do damage to enemies. It kind of makes me think about the anime Macross 2 Lovers Again with its emulators, but you know. Anyway, I kind of wish Final Fantasy 14 had a songstress / songster like Final Fantasy X-2 had. I know not everybody liked that dress sphere, but I loved it. But I don't think that'll ever happen. I also dig the performance actions for Bard, and I wish you could play his songs a little more fluidly without some sort of third-party thing. But that's another issue for another day. Bard is A tier for me. Up next, Ninja. Ninja is an A tier class in my ranking. I love its design and skills. I can kind of get over the positionals. I love its ninjutsu abilities. I don't really think it's top of the line when it comes to damage, but that's okay. It's great for what it is. Not much else to say, I suppose. I have a lot of fun playing it, and it grew on me. Initially, I wasn't even going to bother leveling this class, but when I did, I was so happy that I didn't brush over Ninja like I initially planned. I love the story. I just think it's a fun class, and it just adds a level of spice to any party it's in. Samurai is next. Samurai is B tier. I really like the class, but its lack of party utility, aside from damage, makes me less interested in it. It has beautiful animations, and it's very simple to play, which are very good things. It is very powerful, but unfortunately it's kind of selfish utility-wise, so it's a B tier for me. Our leaping hero, Dragoon, is up next. Dragoon is also a B tier class in my opinion. I think it looks so cool, and it is a powerhouse. I love how jumpy it is. However, it can get you into some embarrassing situations when you don't look before you leap. It's fun to play, and it is one of my favorite DPS non-caster classes overall. And it has some great party utility, so that's wonderful. Shadowbringers is apparently going to bring us a fix for its death jumps. So hopefully Dragoon won't be the running joke of the game for much longer. Scholar up next. Scholar is a C tier class in my book. pun intended. It's a pretty class, and I love the fairies. However, it makes me feel extremely anxious when playing it. And I've talked to several other players who have shared this similar sentiment. It's very technical to play. It forces you to plan ahead to mitigate damage as opposed to being reactionary in your healing. Oftentimes, if a tank is taking too much damage, I've had a hard time trying to keep up with power heals while a scholar. It can be done, but you have to really be on top of it. So when things go off the rails, they really derail very easily. Scholar is just stressful for me to play. Also, I take issue with the imbalance of fairy usage between Eos and Selene. Sadly, there is almost no reason to summon Selene in a dungeon or raid, and I've seen players ridiculed for summoning Selene in a raid. I think Selene needs more love and dungeon raid value added to her. And, as of Shadowbringers, it seems the devs have heard the players' pleas, and they'll be making some updates to Selene as well as Eos. They're going to be indistinguishable from one another from what the jobs here said, and they'll have some extra things added to them, so yay, we get to use Selene and not get yelled at. Other than the fairies, MP management is also kind of annoying to deal with Scholars, so that's something else that bothers me. But Scholar is what it is. Hopefully I enjoy it more in the future. Alright, Dark Knight is up next. Dark Knight is a C tier ranking on my list. It is the first tanking class I ever picked up. I joined the game shortly after Heaven's Word's ending, and it was a class I accidentally picked up. I was kind of new, so I didn't realize I was picking up a job class, a job quest. Yeah, I just noob problems. Anyway, I like the class, but I'm not overly fond of it. I think it looks edgy and cool. The moves are really nice looking. Living Dead scares the crap out of me as a healer. I don't know. I like the idea of a magic DPS, but I'm so about it. So it's a C tier class on my list. Up next, see what's in the cards for Astrologian. Astrologian is an A-tier class on my list. I very much love this class and its beautiful spells. It is my second favorite healer. I love the utility it brings with its cards. I love the different sects that it has, the Nocturnal sect and the Diurnial sect. Nocturnal is my favorite. It makes me think of Nutrinurse from the Metabots anime. I'm not sure if anybody remembers that anime or cares about it, but I know I'm in the minority there. However, Astro Shields remind me of Nutrinurse, Nutrinurse's Nutriwalls. Anyway, side note over. On a serious note, I do have some issues with Astro. I feel that you can't always play it as you like. due to needing to swap between the two sects, Nocturnal and Diurnal, depending on which healer is accompanying you. That can get annoying. There are times I'm in a raid and I want to play Nocturnal sect, and because I'm with a scholar, I'm forced into Diurnal sect. If I wanted to play Diurnal sect and didn't want to play Nocturnal, and I was accompanying a white mage, then I would be forced to play Nocturnal because it would be better suited to round out the team if you had the shields and the white mage's regen heals, as opposed to just 2 regen heals. You don't have to do it that way, but it kind of edges you into doing or playing a specific way. So that's an issue. I also feel MP management is a tricky situation with Astro. When I play with white mage, I don't have to worry so much about MP management. When I play with Astro, I do. Lastly, the damage output for Astro isn't really all that great when compared to the other healers. It has about 4 attacks tops, and they aren't super duper heavy hitting. But despite its faults, I really love this class, and I can't wait for what changes Shadowbringers brings to the class. Up next, the pure healer, White Mage. White Mage is S tier in my list. It is my favorite class of the game, and it is my main class. I run most all of my MSQ as a White Mage, and I am most comfortable with this class. It's very powerful in healing ability. I love all the healing over time spells and the casting range. I greatly appreciate that it doesn't play around with power heals. It is very powerful. White Mage has several power heals and can be both proactive and reactive in healing. It also has a couple of damage nullifying spells as well, so that's awesome. It can deal decent damage as a healer and can easily toggle attacking and healing. It is an MP ruler as far as healers go, and if a White Mage is struggling with MP, that means they're either spamming Cure 2 way too much, or there is a lot going horribly wrong in a party. I'm not without complaints. There are a couple of spells that have been made a bit obsolete, those being Repose and Fluid Aura. As we progress in content, those spells are almost just flat out non-effective on any bosses or monsters, and I wish there was a revamp for them. Turn them into damage dealing spells or damage over time, spells. I also wish that there were more water element spells for, White Mage. I don't know, Fluid Aura is a water element spell, yes. The others kind of look like, some of them look kind of like water element spells, but we're not quite sure. It's not flat out stated. Thin Air looks like a water spell, but it has air in the title. So, I wouldn't count it as a water spell. I believe that there are supposed to be some water spells coming in Shadowbringers, and I think that's great. From what I saw teased in the trailer for the job, it seems as if, it's going in a nice direction, so I can't wait to see what changes are going to be made to my favorite class in the next expansion. But so far, as of Stormblood, White Mage is S tier for me. It is my favorite class. Our Knight in Shining Armor, Paladin, is next. Paladin is an A tier job on my list. I love its concept and its execution. It's my favorite tanking class. It's straightforward and easy to use. I like that it has a healing spell as well. That's a plus in my book. Although, I do have an issue with it at the same time. I get annoyed when people use Clemency when there's no need. As a healer, if I have a tank that takes a teeny bit of damage and then they use Clemency right away when they're well above 50% damage, it kind of makes me feel like I need to start over healing them to make them, comfortable. And that can cause problems. So, yeah, that's my 2 cents. I just kind of feel that's insulting. Otherwise, I have no complaints about Paladin. It looks great. I love its concept. It is, to me, the proper definition of what a tank should be. It's about defense. Yeah, it's truly a protector of the other classes. I feel it's very perfectly set up in that way. So, good job, devs. I'm very curious to see how it changes or is altered in Shadowbringers. But as of now, Stormblood's Paladin is A tier. Up next, the gutsy brawny tank. The warrior is the last job on our list. Warrior is unfortunately D tier on my tier list. I'm so sorry for any of you Warrior fans. Please don't hate me for it, but for me personally, Warrior is a D tier. I know everyone absolutely loves this class, but I don't. I understand that it is a very strong class and it's at the top of most people's tank list and in some cases class list. However, I don't really like Warrior very much, and here's why. Firstly, I'm not a big fan of tanking. That being said, Warrior feels to me like it really wants so badly to be a DPS. When I hear people talk about Warrior, I often hear them go on and on about damage output at length. And I feel like, isn't it supposed to be more about defense and aggro when it comes to tanks? Yet, attacking and attack damage or DPS seems to be more the concern of Warrior players, it seems. I don't know. When I play Warrior, I just personally, I'm not very comfortable with it. I don't really care for it. Paladin makes me feel a lot more comfortable and it feels like a traditional tank to me. Warrior, in my opinion, feels as if it is a tank doing everything in its power to break out of its own role, which I feel in some cases wouldn't really be a problem if it didn't seem that the devs, weren't as so strict with the roles and what classes should do and shouldn't do, and so on and so forth. So I feel like Warrior kind of pushes the boundaries, and it's not alone. Some would say that's a good thing, but I don't know, for a tank that I think most consider the staple tank of the game, I feel like it in its function tries to be more damage oriented as a DPS. And maybe that's what it's supposed to be, and maybe that's, I just don't get it. But for me, Warrior is D tier. Sorry, Warrior fans. Alright, that concludes my tier list. Well, that was my Final Fantasy XIV Stormblood era job tier ranking list. Remember, this was my opinion on the matter. If you feel differently, and I'm sure you do, that's quite alright. If you'd like to share your view, please do so in the comments section. However, let's keep it polite and fun. I'm open to new perspectives, so let me know what you think, and maybe I may have a change of mind on a tier listing. Please like and subscribe for more content, and let me know if you'd like to see more Final Fantasy videos in the future. Leave some suggestions in the comment section. I must say that I've never made a video this long before, or this technical before. It was a real challenge, took a lot of time and effort, and I learned a lot in the creation of this. So if you do at all like or appreciate any of this, please leave a like on the video. It helps me out a lot. I thank everybody that showed even the slightest hint of interest. If you stuck around this long, thank you, thank you, thank you. You warmed my heart, definitely. I have to say, with the benchmark trailer and the job trailers coming out in the middle of my recording this, it threw some monkey wrenches in my program as to what I was going to talk about, how I was going to talk about it, as it concerned what I knew about each class and what I didn't know. So I had to rearrange and rethink some things. I'm very excited about the updates that each class is going to get. Machinist looks great. I like the way they're going to change it in Stormblood. Gunbreaker makes far more sense to me this time around with its latest trailer. Dancer looks wonderful. Every class looks like it's going in a very interesting direction in Shadowbringers, so I'm looking forward to that. Anywho, this has been Izumo-no-Kuni22 here with a Final Fantasy XIV video. Like, subscribe, comment, and I will see you in the next video, loves. Bye!